Well, welcome everybody. Let me turn off Mr. Stevie Ray and Albert King. I hope you all enjoyed that. I mean, Trina, oh, by the way, you're looking fabulous, dear. Living in Austin, when my company, we were right down on 6th Street. And so we got to see, she's busy. Just leave a message and we will get back to you as soon as we are able. So, yes. So welcome everybody to a high energy. How the hell are you? What is up? And we'll be talking about issues that do require a second look. So you know where you are. We thank you for where you are, and we thank you for being here because, hey, Street Mom, there's Brenda. How are you, my dear? Gaza, all the way down from Australia, Trina. What the heck is B? How you doing? Sending healing, brother. Steve and Deborah and S. Lee and Elderberry and Lost in Space. So welcome, everybody. We speak favor over you. Nothing missing, nothing nothing broken. Yeah, see? I see how that works. Yeah, exactly. Try to say that 15 times. Cheeseburger. But that is perfection. If you got nothing missing, nothing broken, then you've achieved perfection. Embrace it, baby. Wear it, own it, and that's all we got to say. And be of service to others, and we are prospering together. So thank you, moderators, and thank you, everybody else. Thank you for hitting the like button, because we've got to feed the machine.
Yes.
And anyway, so Miss Trina, how are you, you bright ray of sunshine?
Oh, I'm good. I've been processing this energy coming from the sun, and it's like I'm feeling it. It's like, whoa, it's been right.
No shit.
Right. I'm like, oh boy.
We just
I was like, oh boy. Yeah.
If you've had headaches, if you've had body aches, if you've had and in this case, it's been for myself, it's almost a sense of giddiness in a sense. We just went through nearly 20 hours of one of the most intense solar storms that we've had here on Earth in quite a while. We got a good dose, all of us got a good dose of radiation the last day. Protons abounding everywhere because we were also in a proton storm.
Yes.
Hey, what can you say? Just go out and smile.
Yep, I'm a radioactive.
Yeah, I mean, ain't it the truth? I mean, and I was telling you, those of you who live in Colorado, Wyoming, I believe in Nebraska, last night, I believe it was night before when the first part of the storm hit, because we were on the opposite side, and yesterday we took a full dose of it. the North America and this side of the globe, but reports and videos coming out of the aurora being seen in the lower latitudes. There is, and Ben Davidson talked about this as well, is that we're seeing red, Trina.
That's amazing.
And that is a clear indication of a weakening magnetic field. And so, yeah, all I got to say is take another hit, because, yeah.
And things be a changing.
They are a changing, and and it's interesting. I put this, what is truth, and I love the conversation. Brian, how are you doing, brother? Paul, Joe, Lorraine, good to see you as well. Dizzy, yeah. That is kind of the effect. It's kind of a dizzy.
Too. Yeah. I got a little like, all right.
Yeah,
I ground really hard when that happens, and it seems to help breathe and ground. And I don't know why. Stomping my feet. It puts me right back. But yeah,
I can see that.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm stomping my feet. It seems to help me a lot.
I noticed, right here, it was a headache. It's what it was. It was just like, wow, what the freak is going on
here for me? And then it went around like a
yeah, it's like, ow, Inlo says, yeah, the aches and inflammation is worse in yes, there they are. And and it's here's the other thing. as I mentioned already on Monday when this was, I mean, yeah, yesterday. What day of the week is it? That, we would see increases in memory care patients who are suffering dementia, Alzheimer's, cognitive degeneration diseases. And it
And there's
really
another
tears them up.
spectrum too. This affects people's hearts.
It does. Cardiac
Yeah,
issues, very much so. Yep.
yeah,
Hmm.
arrhythmia, stroke.
Yeah.
It affects all that too. This is a powerful thing that we're going through right now. It really is.
And I it's just me. I know they're coming, and again, most of us are all subscribers. Hey, Grace, good to see you, darling. Of Ben Davidson over on, Suspicious Observers.
Yep.
And I start my day out kind of, listening to what is happening with our sun, because it's active and it's about to get more active. You and I were talking before we went live that back in my Nibiru days, Planet X, we began to see something that, we really couldn't account for. We didn't know what it was. It was evidence on camera, telescopes. I mean, the camera would be Secchi. Secchi went down, but before it went down, it was showing that there's this, we called it a galactic glow. There seemed to be a glow to what we were seeing. Well, since that time, it's been confirmed that our solar system is in the midst of a dense dust cloud, a galactic gas cloud. It's dirty. It's a dust. Mm-hmm. Dust is not good for electrical devices. You get shorts. That's what happens. It's like, but so now we know that the light is coming. We know it's already happened. It's like my wife said. She says, I'm not going to waste a second to worry about something that I have absolutely no control over. Mm-hmm. She said, I'm going to live my life. Uh-huh. Yeah. And I think that's exactly the attitude you have to take.
I think it's one of the best attitudes to take. And then, I also look at this potential. Okay, if we got new light coming in, and I really do think that this affects DNA. So, and I was like, I was like, there's going to be different potentials. And I think those potentials are going to be based on your consciousness. So I'm like, okay, how could I imagine in my mind a creative outcome for this experience? I was like, oh my gosh, reactivate our ancient gifts and talents, reactivate your ancient DNA, reactivate all 12 strands of DNA. I was like, why not manifest the most wonderful outcome that could be possibly, I was like, why not play with it? So I'm trying to look at different ways I can manifest these incoming things into our system that are going to definitely affect our world. So,
and I look at it too, Trina, that there, and you mentioned the word consciousness. There has to be, there has to be what I would call a corresponding spiritual effect. You can call it with the soul, you can call it with the spirit, but we are, if anything, energy beings, electrical. And I believe that our spirits, how could they not be impacted? I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't know. It just seems like if you're in the environment, are you saying that somehow then, if we're not, that our spirit is somehow encapsulated, insulated from these things? I don't know.
I don't think so, because I think that's the essence of what we are, is consciousness.
Yeah.
So at the essence, that would you be talking spiritual? A consciousness would be spiritual. It would be beyond flesh. So when I look at it that way, and then you look at, okay, light and consciousness, literally they're both information. So what if the spiritual part is the information and the soul part is the part that can perceive it, like the radio box that we have to put the signal through to hear the radio signal. I keep seeing like that kind of a thing going on. So I think that's pretty wonderful, because if we do have this new light coming in, it's definitely going to code. It's going to code. I know it.
Yeah,
It's gonna
yeah.
code. It's gonna code everything, like you said. I think all the way to soul spirit connection, because it's coming into this. Yeah, it's gonna affect everything. I see it's gonna be huge.
I think of what Hollywood and how, Hollywood is an oracle. It is. It has
Uh-huh.
the ability to cement what reality is about to be defined.
Mhm.
And in the movie Star Trek Generations, the point of the story was that there was a bad guy, but he was trying to capture or alter this ribbon of light that was traveling through the universe. Because if you could be where this ribbon came to you, it was kind of this electrical thing. It put you into a state of consciousness or a place, reality, where everything you ever desired comes true.
Wow.
So in
Genie
this
in the
case,
bottle.
then in this case, they found Captain Kirk. He was in the ribbon, and he had decided to live his life, riding the horses and living in the mountains. And I thought, yeah, what if
Yeah.
that's the kind of a thing? What if this is a release?
Oh, it could be.
Could be.
Well, remember, Wayne, another thing I keep seeing too is, remember I told you I had that vision about how the world goes into a spin cycle,
Mm-hmm.
and like the central earth shoots out 12 new earths, and they all go into different positions, and it's based on your magnetic draw to those positions, and it was based on your consciousness. So I think we're going in the spin cycle.
And wouldn't it then, and hello chat room, much love to everybody there again. Wouldn't it then wouldn't it be a next step that, all right, I'm a light being, or so I think.
Mhm.
So if light is coming, now we're talking on a physical light, but I believe light permeates all the way into the ethereal.
Oh,
I
yeah.
believe there's light we don't even know about.
Oh, yeah.
So if I meet this, let's say we're all alive and we realize that this thing is coming. I mean, it's almost one of those things that why would I then fear it? Why wouldn't I just go ahead, look at it headlong? Because one thing I can be assured of, there's a transmutation of some kind going to take place.
Absolutely.
One way or the other.
One of the things I keep thinking is, like, I wonder if we're here right now on this planet, so we get to go through this transition, and literally we came down here to volunteer to do a full blown mutation of our genetic codes, and there was going to be two different outcomes, and that we were going to experience both, because we would be experiencing it, because when we're together, we're all experiencing each other. So it's kind of cool what I was seeing. So I was like, I wonder if a lot of us came down here to actually reactivate the old ancient codes, but you have to do it during these transition windows.
In the book, The Journey of the Soul, it's one of the parts of that is that there are those who work in the astrals that, as people, particularly in disasters, when an airplane goes down, where there's hundreds of people that suddenly make that transition, that they have to be prepared to be able to meet with these, because that in these type of events is where souls many times will wander off and they get lost.
They get confused.
Yeah, they get confused. So let's extrapolate that forward. If you look at this and you put the equation, so it's a simple algebraic equation, we have A times B multiplied would equal then to our end result. What I'm trying to get to the point is this, is that, so what if this thing happens? Let's say we have the sun does a nova. That's a very bad day for Earth. I mean, it's a very bad day.
Or is it liberation, because you're instantly into a higher dimension?
Well, think about this now. I'm thinking on the fact that, let's say that there's suddenly 2-3 billion souls or spirits that are suddenly transformed from where we call the living to the dead. That type of an event would require so much preparation, and maybe it's already been taking place, because I believe that we're all met.
I do too. I think
So,
it's going to be the same thing again, Wayne. You're going to literally be drawn into wherever your consciousness was.
but
It's
I
where,
believe that there are workers on the other side that are already preparing for this event. Now, maybe taking your point, maybe we're in the body, maybe we're in the flesh waiting for that command, that moment. And then we actually are what they call the what's the capacitor that would then,
yeah,
yeah, you get where I'm coming
antennas
at.
and antennas. I've always been shown you're an antenna. You guys are antennas. You're here to code the planet because you're one with the planet. They're like, your old bodies are what make the butterflies and the trees grow today. They're like, no, you're literally one with the planet. You decomposed in the earth before. You're literally a part of it. I was like, wow, that makes sense.
Joyce
Okay.
Marie says, on talking about the earth, which is interesting. So when we did our talking with the planets with Patrick back in the day, we know that these planets are sentient beings.
Oh.
So if man is aware of what has happened already, I mean, again, this is not, speculation. The only speculation is what impact is it going to have. But if let's just say that this is a cataclysmic event, it would seem that these highly evolved beings that we call planets, they would prepare for this as well, would they not? I mean, I don't know, but I'm just asking.
I think they have an intimate knowing of what it is,
They would
why
have an
it's coming.
intuition, wouldn't they? Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
space is not this empty void. It's a
No.
living. I look at space as plasma, human plasma.
I think so.
And and there's just these trillions of cells that are planets, they're life forms, and we coexist, and we think that the space is vast, but it's actually a confined space.
In a body.
Yeah, ain't
in
that
a
the truth?
body.
What if it is in a
Yes.
body? Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I seen. Like that's how they show me, but it's allegory, so I can do images to get the context into language
Mm-hmm.
because it's so difficult. But yeah, that's one of the ways that I was shown. It's like your whole cosmos is a body. It was like a
Ain't it
body.
so? Yeah.
Yeah, it's what it
I
was.
mean, it's the
so
thought that Hawking's even spoke on this, that it's very possible that we are in an already advanced consciousness.
Absolutely.
We are as he said, we are a constant memory that is ever evolving.
I think he's got a lot of truth to that, because I literally do think this construct, it's been literally it got somehow it got stolen and harnessed and changed and dropped down in vibration, and there's just a lot that I've seen with that. So I know this light seems to terrify so many people, and like they're trying they say that the elites or whatever want to stop this light from coming in. That's why all the canopies on the sky and
well, think about it. That would be a pretty interesting guise
Yeah.
about doing it. Like,
Right.
could we put reflectors up there that, for
Aluminum.
global cooling?
Right,
Yeah. And,
aluminum,
act
that
as
would
a
do it.
reflector.
Right. That
Yeah.
would do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there could be a lot of like, oh man, they don't want this to come because they know it's going to do really good things too. So I really do see, I want to focus my energy in that direction as much as possible, because I don't want to go on the downside reality, because I really do see, Wayne, the spin cycle. It's either here or it is soon approaching. So we're going to be getting sorted.
And man, humans don't understand light. I mean, I saw it earlier today in an easing that came in, and one of the questions was to this physicist was, how do you explain this? And here is the question. So light does not have mass, but yet light is affected by gravity. So why is gravity having an impact on light when light has no mass?
It's so weird. The only way Yeah, the
Well,
only
how
way
the
I
hell
see
does that work?
you know what I see? It's that positive negative polarity thing. One pulls and one emanates. That's what I see when you say that.
Yeah, and it's like
One
I don't
pulls and
still we don't
somehow.
understand gravity. I think
No,
gravity, yeah,
right.
it's just me, but I think my perspective is seen as, is that gravity is in fact electromagnetic. It's
Yes,
part
I
of
think so
magnetism. We
too.
just don't understand it yet.
I think so too, Wayne.
Mm.
That's what I mean. That pulling part, that's the magnetic part, the gravity
Hmm.
part. I
Yeah,
really do. I think that's what's going on there. I think
yeah.
you're spot on. And that's what I've been looking at because it didn't make sense to me. I'm like, how could this? And that's what I was being shown. It's like there's a push pull in all things on this surface, on this planet. Everything has got that push pull. And then they showed me the magnet being the magnetic core of the earth, which we know it's not really a magnetic core, but I think in some essence it is. It literally might create the gravitational field, which is some type of a magnetic charge.
And I then again,
What I
I
see.
wrote this earlier. Where was it? Yeah. I saw Enlo when you talked about free will, and we talk about that a lot here, but it gets back to, prophecy. Now, in my former religion, and Kara Copeland, thank you, dear. She says, I hope you find your faith. I got my faith, never lost it. It just,
Right. Yeah.
it's like
It's
you have to be
evolving.
careful with faith, because
Yeah.
faith is so valuable and it's so, fragile. And you certainly don't want to waste it or by any means let it be taken advantage of. But I digress.
Yeah. Faith is the
uh,
foundation of beliefs, though, and most of the beliefs that we've taken on, especially as children, were very harmful. So yeah, we
oh
got to be
yeah, I mean
careful.
there's
We got
there's
to be
there's
careful.
there's a lot.
Hmm.
But getting back to, in my former religion, so, there was, oh my goodness, in fact, I can say a great deal of the religion is predicated upon fear, this ending, this terrible thing. That's why, we invented the rapture, because we want to have whether it's a false belief or whatever, a passive belief, it provides some kind of comfort because so again, this is what I did. I got all of my books from back then. And so I'm going back through here. And it's very interesting that if you were to say, because I couldn't say it 35 years ago, we didn't know this.
Right.
So it was just imaginary that, some kind of bad events coming and it's the devil and, you just hype up the fear. Well, here we are nearly 40 years later. We're suddenly realizing that, well, maybe there's something here to this, because Trina, if this event happens, we will see people going insane.
Yeah, and that's biblical too. The men will, their hearts will fail for the things of which they see. But think about it, Wayne. If this light is literally going to change the vibration of the planet, move us into another dimension, which could be fourth dimension. Think about it. That's where all the spirits are.
Well,
So
okay, let's go. Let's continue on that, because
yeah.
I'll add the Cobran Bible, which is the
Uh-huh.
Egyptian account that says, and that's where the Hebrews got the story from. But the Egyptians, going back into the bronze books, you see that maybe these things that they wrote about was a precursor to what they saw yet again, because their prophets, their priests said, this is going to happen. This
Mhm.
is going to happen.
Yes.
And, was it this that they were seeing or sensing?
It
And you're
sure
right.
probably. Yeah.
What would be the effect on, let's say, the living dead?
Right. Right. That's what I'm saying. This could be so beyond, like, to have the veil ripped and
Literally.
yeah, and you walk into a new dimension where there's multiple layers of consciousness existing there that you could never see before. That's going to snap a lot of people sideways real fast, Wayne. Real
Yeah,
fast.
and you think about this, and there have been stories. I am always drawn back to the story in the book of Matthew,
Mhm.
where it talks about when this murder took place of the guy on the pole. At that moment, I told the veil was rent in the temple, and the veil was 7-8 inches thick, and it was some 40, 50 feet high. But
Wayne,
the
that's
interest, what's that on?
the temple too. That's always
Oh yeah, I mean, and so
for
that was the
body.
evidence of the
So,
Holy Spirit coming
well,
out into the world.
yeah, and I'm like, what if that means we're going to have an 8-inch thick barrier change of like our auric field or something? I
I
think
don't
like
know.
there's something like to that, like that. There's like a correlation to the body and that ripping of that 8-inch thick thing. I'm like, I haven't figured that out yet, but there's something to it.
Well, the story goes on, and they say that the graves burst open, and that there were people walking with their bodies.
Shit, Wayne, and we're starting to see
You
people
know, let me tell
reanimate
you,
right
folks, if
now.
that ain't a freaking zombie, I
Right.
don't know. I mean, and that would freak people out here. Let's say this light, by the time it gets here, it's not the type of visible light that we're anticipating. It's a totally different light.
Right.
Yeah, man.
That's what I mean. I'm like, oh gosh, there could be some really
holy
interesting things
crapola.
happening, Wayne. And we have people reanimating right now that are dead, and they had 3 last week.
Yeah, I've read the
I mean,
stories.
yeah, so I'm like, what's
you
going
know,
on here? This could be all the stuff they're talking. People will come out of their graves. Well, shoot, they're doing that right now. Okay.
I mean, this is some strange, and
No.
I have someone said, Kara, I have many different ghost box. Got this one, and you'll see these all on television as well. But anyway, the point is, it's agreed in the paranormal community that we are seeing worldwide. This is not just limited to one particular region. It's worldwide. This increased activity of the paranormal. We are seeing more and more evidence, and it may be because more and more people can afford this equipment. But we have one in our house right now. It's a poltergeist. It's not bothering anything, but it does bother our daughter. So I'm going to have to go down and dealt with it. I already dealt with it once, but it's back. But my point is, so is this part of this phenomenon? Is this part of this energy that we can't see it, but we may not even be able to feel it, but yet it's having an impact in the ethereal realm?
Because this new light is coating the matter, which is going to be us, the humans, and the earth, the rocks, the trees. Everything's getting coated. So this coating, if they're saying it's going to raise vibration, and that's why they're so trying to block the sunlight, because they're like, they can't stop this one. If this is the way it goes, this is the way it goes. There's no stopping this. So if this is going to recode everything, yeah, Wayne, this is going to be blending dimensions right before our very eyes.
I think that's what we're seeing already. I'm having strange dreams, and it's the same energies, but it's always, each night it's in a different setting. And so I know, and I'm not alone in this. There's people all around. I had this weird thing, because I speak in tongues, and and I was, and that a lot of times I'll use speaking in tongues as a way to get into a trance, because it just works that way.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. So have you ever wrote in tongues? Yeah. Wow. Writing in tongues. And I'm finding this more and more, because I'm looking at things that I write, and I do a lot, and then I'm coming up on sections that it's really weird, because it's not
another language.
It's in another language. Yeah. Writing in tongues, so
that's amazing. What's so weird? I've been throwing this thing around for a couple of days. What if the difference between this, what we call, maybe the false light or artificial light, based from the artificial construct of the takeover, and I keep seeing that the difference has to do with fire letters. Fire letters, and I wonder if that's the difference between electric light is electric light, but the light of creation is fire. It's a plasma. It's a moving light. It's never still, so it can hold form, but it's never solid form. It's what I'm seeing. These differences of light again. Like I said, there's so many differences of light. I don't think we have any idea.
I agree with you on that.
These fire letters, and I wonder if you're connecting to the original fire letters.
You know,
or if you could.
again, because I studied this for so long, but the story goes that Isaiah was before the presence of the Lord, and that this God could not, Isaiah could not speak because his tongue was corrupt. And then the archangel came forth had brought a piece of coal or something like this that was on the altar of the incense of God, and then put it on Abraham's lips and tongues, and then, Isaiah, and then Isaiah could begin to speak a new language.
Wow.
That
Wow.
Yahweh, Jehovah, would then be able to listen to. Very strange. And the symbolism is everywhere, because well, what was this that this angel brought forth? That they used the word coal that was bright white hot. Weird, isn't it?
Which is weird. It's like ash.
Yeah, and it's very strange. Yeah, yeah.
Asherah. What? I don't know why, but
it sounds very. And that's the thing about when you have the event at the Tower of Babel, whether that is allegorical or actual, who knows? But
I think it was more than that. Yeah,
I think it was.
like
I think it got some foundation of truth to it.
Yeah, I do. I think
happy birthday is be good to see you, buddy.
The changing of the language and the changing of the letters. And I know that there's a lot. What the flock talks about, the vowel, the introduces of the vowels into our system. That is another perfect explanation. But I see this even going into the etherical, into the DNA coding. I see this going in higher information packets of light that went all the way up. I see it went up high. So I literally keep seeing that this is recoding the ancient codes coming back in, and this is what they do not want to see expressed. But
it's a classic theological debate, is that how could God speak if there was no one out there?
Right.
Who would have listened? It's one of those questions you go, well, what the hell's up with that? But then again, I was reading from the ministries of Satan. And, it was interesting in that aspect on how to put yourself into a trance state, right? Well, that's considered to be witchcraft over in certain religions. However, if I'm praying in tongues and I fall into a trance, it's perfectly acceptable.
Even appreciated and adored.
Yeah, but to what spirit am I allowing to speak through me? Now, some people say that tongues is babble. I've read a number of different studies.
I don't know how to speak tongue, Wayne, and sometimes I understand what you're saying. So I don't believe
it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, because I don't know it. And I'm like, I think I understood what you just said.
Yeah, I have this weird.
How, but
so I think, what? I can read Latin, but I've never taken Latin in a education environment.
See, that is the brilliance of this coding that I think you hold in your DNA, and it's consciousness, and it's earned because you learn it. I really do. And what if this wakes up all the other stuff we learned in the higher dimensions? Oh, snap.
Now, you just said something, because we didn't talk about this prior, but you see, I was taught that the speaking of tongues activates and acts a part of your brain that, and has a direct correlation to your spirit. It activates that area that is only accessible when you're in that state of consciousness.
I can't imagine what your brain looks like when you do that. It's got to look like
that would be cool, wouldn't it?
I bet it would be. I bet they should do that. They should do imaging of people speaking. I bet that would be phenomenal. Interesting. Yeah, I bet it's amazing to see the lighting up of your brain.
Scotty boy, it's awesome. True. He says it's a light language. And that's interesting, because that's what we were taught when we would hold hands. And when you get a whole congregation speaking in tongues.
Powerful.
Woo! I mean, it's if anything, it's just cool to feel that type of energy, because there's really something going on there.
Oh man,
And
for
then when
sure.
you start hearing, then you start getting people into prophesying.
Mhm.
And to me, it's the modern day equivalent of having a tarot card reading, because there's people that in the congregations that I was a part of who could literally walk up to. So there was one woman in particular who had this gifting. She had the gift of a seer,
Yeah.
and all she could see, and she would say that she could see a color around people, and then she would immediately see an interpretation. She could see, for instance, cancers in people. She
Mhm.
could see women who were just in the very beginning of conception, and she could see, it was a remarkable gift. So
Yeah, that's a
is
beautiful
that something
energy
that's just
medicine.
of a religion, or is this something that this woman naturally had but was
I do.
activated?
Yes, that's what I think. I think we all have these amazing abilities, amazing beyond our wildest
Hmm.
imagination if we could just activate them and somehow tap into them. And I know 90% of what's blocking us from doing this now is all of the programs that we've installed through the subconscious. And we've got to start clearing those out, start
Yeah, it's
taking out the
interesting.
trash.
In-law said, as long as you're not being manipulated by some being speaking through you. Yeah, I think that's the problem with humanity, in whether we're talking philosophy, whether we're talking religion, whether we're talking politics or whatever, is the simple fact that if you say, for instance, I wrote a book, let's say I wrote a book, let's take one out of the Bible. I wrote the book of Revelation, right? What a night it was. But but the point is, none of these writings, if here's the thing, if they came from this higher source, that's channeling.
Yes.
I don't care what anyone says.
Wayne, our consciousness doesn't reside in our brain. We're picking
Bingo.
up
It doesn't.
information. So
Yeah.
none of us have a thought that came from our own consciousness. You're just
Trina.
receiving it.
So I'm dreaming, and I woke up exactly at 4:44 this morning.
I
And
did that the day before yesterday. And
I
today
was
was
like,
333. I'm like, what in the heck is going on here?
and it was so strange because I literally thought this. I was in that lucid dreaming state, and I heard myself saying, "Do you see? You're observing this." Boom! I woke up, and it was
Wow,
like, wow.
that's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Graham says, if you wrote Revelations, and it's a revelation, I believe, but yeah, can I have that recipe?
Right,
Sure.
right.
I mean, in
That's
all
quite
of
a
my
recipe.
trips that I've taken, I've never met, uh, even in the religious aspects, it was interesting. Oh, that's just funny. I took some orange sunshine and was preaching to a group of plants in a hothouse.
I love it.
16 years old, man.
Oh, I love it.
I
Oh,
apparently
that's
saved them all, man. And
yep. Oh, that's hilarious. I love
uh,
it.
but it points out that, because my growing up, I never had a religious aspect. It was never, there wasn't any religion. My
Mhm.
grandparents were, not religious at all. And but it's interesting because as I got out to be on my own, and particularly, when the psychedelics came in,
Mhm.
there was a natural propensity of my spirit to be drawn to that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mine too.
See,
Mine too.
and we all know this. So this tells us that, and I've met some people who just don't give a rat ass
No.
about religion. They don't care about
Mm-mm.
God. They don't care about, as one person told me, they said, listen, I am not a perfect person, but I live by a set of rules and morals, and it served me well.
Yep. I think that's
Cool.
exactly, yeah, I think we're all doing our own thing. And everybody's going to be going into different positions or houses. Like I see it's a spin cycle thing happening. So, and and I don't think we're going to know when it happens. We won't even know. It's so weird what I see. It's so hard to put into language. But yeah, all these energies are going to be shifting and changing, and I think the potentials though are so wonderful if you can lock into the positive potentials and create as an intentional creator. I think it's going to really serve you in the end. I really do. But man, it's been a battle because every time I start making ground with that, man, the freaking dark energies just come in like a freaking freight train on steroids. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm seriously. I'm going to start blowing shit up really quick here. I'm getting tired of this, Yeah, so
That's
I'm
just
seeing
funny.
that for real, Wayne. It's like, it's getting strong. It's like, oh, really? Again? Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, because there's obviously a lot more at work here than what.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know if you go into the shock therapy, on the other side, because it's like,
sometimes I'm like, okay, I
geez,
need a freaking day spa. I need to get put back together from all this crap. I'm like, y'all, this is like a lot down here, and time is moving so fast. It's just,
wow.
it's frustrating because it's like, I used to be able to get so much more done in the same amount of time, and it's just literally frustrating because it's moving so fast.
I've had this reoccurring dream where I'm trying to press on the brake in this car that I am in, and it won't stop.
Right.
And I'm aware of the fact that I'm in a dream, but God damn it, I can't get the thing and I'm stomping on the brake.
Right.
And it ain't stopping, Yeah.
I get it.
Let's do it now. Says you're tripping me, Trina. People, how's everyone in the chat room? Y'all doing good out there? I mean, this is
how's everybody? I miss you, love you. Hugs
so
to
good
you
to
all.
see everybody. But time is speeding up.
It really is.
It's
I'm like,
nuts.
really? I'm like, this is just moving quick. I'm like, hold the, like you said, want to put the brakes on, and there's no stopping this train.
I'm sure that someone in there, probably in dream interpretation, can probably figure this one out. I don't know. It's obviously that, I guess there could be a myriad of different interpretations. I don't know.
Yeah, there could be. But usually when I do the dream interpretations, when you're in a car, it represents an aspect of you. It's like your vehicle. That's your car. It's your vehicle.
I can see that.
Yeah, because like you get in it, you drive it like your avatar is being driven by your spirit soul connection thing. Because it's the same thing. You just you're in a bigger shell, cruising around, making it do what you want. So it's an identity of you thing. And then, like I said, can't put on the brakes. So that's like probably a feeling like the world is speeding up, and it's like we can't put on the brakes. This is going to go forward no matter what. There's no stopping
it's a sense of frustration. It's
kind of I'm like frustrated. Wait, I'm like, oh, this is just
it's like, I know it's supposed to stop,
Yes.
But it's not
done, and now it's harder because it's going too fast.
And here's the strange thing, Trina. It's been in both directions. Going forward and then in reversing.
Yes.
And I can get the reversing, I think, because the reversing almost would remind me of is that there's something I'm trying to hold on to. That is it's not going to be possible. It's just not. I figured that out. The one, and maybe it can be.
I think you're right. I think it's processing, it's getting us ready to let go of what we know and expect as our normal reality, because it's going to change in a very big way. So, it's going to be about being able to totally be okay with these changes, however they come and release and integrate the new light. So it's, either you will or you won't. It's going to be kind of that simple. But if you can't let go of what was, you can't integrate what's new. It's kind of like love, if you want new love, you have to release the old to integrate something new. And it's the same thing that they're showing me. It's like a lot of letting go is going to have to happen. So maybe that's
Musgrave says he's had a lot of dreams off planet. That's cool.
Right on.
Yeah, I think that's very cool. And I think that is so true. There's things that there was a word that came to me, oh my goodness, almost 13 years ago. And it's interesting because the word that was spoken, it said, in an instant, everything will change. In a day, nothing will be the same.
Yes. In the blink of an eye.
But that word came to me while I was actually in some really deep meditation. It was 13 years ago, praying
Yeah.
in tongues.
Yeah.
That's how I used to do it. I mean, I
Yeah,
didn't
Wayne,
know it
I
at the
do. I think
time.
it's going to happen very quickly. This big blast thing. If this is what, if I mean, because a lot of people have seen this. And we talk about how reality shows up in the movies. That movie Knowing, where they all got ready
That's
for
one
the
of I enjoyed that movie. Yeah.
Me too. I
Yeah.
do. I see there's a lot of chance in that. But it's so funny. It's like they want you to be afraid of this. And it's so funny because I'm like, there's literally nothing to be afraid of, because it doesn't matter if you even drop your physical body and die, you're not going to be dead at all. And you're going to wake up in a brand new reality of which you've already laid the foundation for while you were in the physical, waiting for the transition to happen. They're showing me so many cool different things. I was like, oh, this could be just a good time, and we're just going to pop, and it's going to be different, and you're going to be where you're supposed to go because of your consciousness. And most of us that understand the matrix and the potential of this whole system, you're already into a higher position in energy expressions, because it's based on knowledge. And how much have you absorbed in consciousness? Like, how much have you learned? Like, a lot of people, they will never look at these things because they just don't care. They just want to enjoy the world. And
Yeah.
that's perfect, because we need those people too to do their part in the polarity part. So it's like, it's going to be a neat thing to see the blending of dimensions and the blending of consciousness and all of these things. But yeah, I think there's going to be a big process of letting go and not being able to put the brakes on, Wayne.
and I mean, it's a reminder for us all, but because it is that letting go. It's like
Yeah.
And the inevitability is of us all is that we are going to. I used to stand in the congregation, and I can remember so many times I'd be looking around at people, and they're up there praising and just doing their thing, and here I am asking myself, do they see the same God that I see?
Yeah.
What are they seeing that I'm not? I mean, because here you're supposed to be enraptured in the moment. What the freak am I doing? I'm psychoanalyzing myself against, an environment that, that's when I began to realize, Trina, that I don't think I fit in here anymore.
Wayne, I felt that way when I was 3 years old. So boy, I feel you.
Yeah.
I really do. I felt different from the time I get my earliest memories. I'm like, people don't understand what I do, and they don't understand what I see. And I knew I couldn't let anybody know. I was crazy, the consciousness that I was processing two different worlds when I was a child. And then I refused to let that anchor go. So I've kind of been walking that way my whole life, and it's been an interesting journey.
Very, and that gets back, full circle into this conversation. I love it. Hey, Gilbert, how you doing, brother?
You know what, Wayne?
What's that?
It's so profound too. It's like everything just comes back to is everything here is inverted. Everything.
And that's the thing with truth.
Yeah,
I was exchanging comments with Inlo, and he wrote that, he said, well, truth is nature. Nature only, you can observe nature and it's truth. And I wrote back and I said, that's true, but nature only knows nature's truth. It doesn't know man's truth. And man really doesn't comprehend nature's truth. And it's like you said, so we live in this inverted world. We know that. It's not just so if that is the case, then if I was to say the following to you, Trina, every word that I'm about to say is truth. By definition, what I say is truth. And if you hear a lie, you can base that against my truth. Well, the problem is, what if the lie is in fact the truth? That's that point you were saying. This is this inverted reality.
Exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. When you understand that this is an overlay of a false construct that's been created and they're using our vision to project it, when you realize that, that means that all of this is an overlay. All of it is an inversion of the truth. So anything that's you're going to give yourself, your time, your worship to within this world, basically you're expressing to an illusion. It's a false. It's not correct. This is an error code system. It's just what I see. So when I realized that, that's when I had that whole cutting myself out of the serpent thing. And this is a serpent system. And I've had a very deep understanding that for a very, very long time. And now I'm starting to actually see the constructs, and other people are seeing them too. And it's helping me put it together, because I do think this dense overlay that they've been able to keep over this planetary body, Gaia is going to get free. I know I came here to watch her get healed. That's what it was. It was a healing the earth. I knew it was here, coming here to heal the earth. And that just being the antennas for the new light was all I needed to do. It was kind of that simple. Just bring it in. I was like, okay.
Yeah. And someone asked me once, they said, so what do you believe in? And I just was very poignant. The only thing I can really say I believe in, other than myself, is, that which I hold most precious to me, and that is the relationship I have with my wife. Because to me, that is truth.
Mm-hmm.
Anything beyond that is up to debate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've seen on all sides. So the question, as I answered back to this person, I said, I believe in myself. In the end, is Lynn and I are, we know that that day will come when our departures are, upon us, and the journey is still an individual's journey.
Mm-hmm. Very much.
And if I have doubt within myself, then, and we all do, we all have the voice within that challenges us. But the way I look at it, if I exercise my psychic, if I exercise my soul, then I can only get stronger at it.
Yeah.
So I believe in myself.
Yeah.
I freed myself the day when I realized that I am neither imperfect nor perfect. I
Wayne,
am.
that's the winning key right there, is when you can understand the balance, that you're all of it.
Yeah.
You're both. You can't not be both while you're existing in a polarity based system. You're both of everything. So you are dark, you are light, you are positive, you are negative, you are female, you are male. We're every bit of it, because it's just like the whole consciousness and creation thing. You don't get to separate it from what it is. It's just part of what it is. It's just an is.
It gets that question, because today we're so wrapped around the axle on, racial issues and what have you. And I keep telling people, I write these and sometimes, and I said, so when you pass over, what color is your soul?
Right.
I mean, I'm asking a serious question. I mean, What is the color of your soul? What is the color of your spirit? And then someone will say, well, a soul doesn't have color. I beg to differ with you.
Oh, I beg to differ too.
You put, and I'll just lay it out there.
Colors are codes of information.
Exactly. You could not. So you're telling me, let's say, a family of, let's say you have Caucasians and you have blacks.
Uh-huh.
So are you telling me that when we cross over, that the cultures of each race suddenly has no impact?
No way.
No way. There is no way.
No
and,
way.
And let me give you, someone wrote to me and and I'm not going to hell. Let me just tell you what hell is for a god or a goddess. You know what hell is? Since you love sending the emails, boredom.
Yep, that's one.
I'm a god.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing I want to be is bored. If you put me in hell, pain is stimulating. Pain can almost bring an orgasm.
Correct. I think that's why a lot of people like to go.
I
Well,
guess
you
that's
have
why
an
people
option.
all the time
Yeah,
say,
well, because
they say,
you
well, go to
can
hell. Go to
you
hell,
can
Trina.
pick where you want to go. And I mean, just
You
like a
know?
lot of the rock stars in their songs, they're like, I'd rather go to hell than to heaven because it's gonna be boring in heaven. I want to go party with the hell. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna have choices. You get to go where your consciousness takes you. It's gonna be kind of that simple because you're gonna match the light that you have coded with. And you
You know,
code with what basically though you got to figure too. That's why I say we need to really start to work on what's going on in the subconscious because we've taken on a lot of crap that we don't need. And it's because of the environmental coding that we're receiving. So I'm seeing that this is going to be huge when people can start to unlock their subconscious programs and recode them with the true organic, more of the good codes, not God codes, good codes. They're good codes. The good codes are balanced, they show me. And that's where the God thing comes from. It's good. So they're these benevolent energies that reconnect you to before you got so damaged by our environmental experiences because our DNA codes to our environment.
well, I look at myself, I was a ward of the state. I lived in a state home for abused
Yes.
children. And, my roommate, James, he was Black. And he taught me a completely different culture than I had ever known.
Yeah.
I love James. He was a good guy. He taught me, introduced me to the Temptations and Motown. But my point is, as I look in the life that we are, I just don't see that there's this ambiguous, blending of all spirits or souls. I don't see that. It's impossible. If
It's
that's the case, then
impossible.
that's a wipe.
Wayne, when I was a little girl, I had never seen an African American woman in my life. I was only about maybe two or barely, maybe three. I don't know. I was young. My mom
Mm-hmm.
took me to the grocery store and I was so blown away. I was so curious and I thought it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And I walked up to her and I didn't know what to say because I was still a child. I was like, "Are you Chinese?" And she was like, "No, honey." She's like, "I'm a Black woman." And I said, "You're so beautiful. Your skin so," and I put my hand on her hand. I was like, wow. And I was like, "Mom," and my mom was like, "I'm so sorry." And my mom was apologizing up and down. And she just laughed and she was so kind to me. I still remember how kind she was to me. And she could see my utter adoration and fascination. That's why I know these colors are just characters we get to put on. It has nothing to do with the soul. Because when I was a kid, I was seeing souls all the time. I didn't have no, wow, you're cool looking. But when I saw the human expression of all these colors, I was like, wow, I was
So
blown
wait a
away.
minute. Let's back up on this because there has been photographic proof of
Mhm.
spirit beings who are Black.
Yes.
There's spirit
Yes.
beings who are Chinese, who are
Yes.
Caucasian. So I
Yes.
disagree. I don't think there is this blending. I think it counts a lot.
It
I think
does.
that, that what you are in this realm, and, people can argue with me, but go out and do your own investigation. Look at the evidence that's out there.
It's so
People come back
profound.
as poltergeist or as ghost. They're not these automatons.
No. But it's
No.
so interesting when you take on these bodies, that's part of your DNA. They show me that. And then like every environment you go into, you get more coding from these environments and these experiences and basically consciousness. So it's profound, Wayne, but
It
I think
is.
in the very before we got more into the denser forms, we all looked very similar.
We all hope
Yeah.
we all hope that is the case eventually, but when you're in this environment, it imprints on your spirit, on your, if you spirit, soul, whatever it may be.
Permanent, I think
There is an
permanent.
imprint on
I
that.
do. Yes,
Yeah.
there is. What they showed me, when you come back from an earthly experience, your soul like carries a badge of earth and they can see it in your energy field. Like it is a visible identification that you were once earthbound. They know it from your field. They can see it.
I'm looking forward to meeting Sammy Davis Jr. I met him in Vegas one
Right
time
on.
and loved the guy. He was
Right.
gracious. He was
Right.
articulate. And, I'm thinking that, and I definitely want to look up Jimmy. I mean, I want to see, has he advanced on the Stratocaster? I mean,
Mhm.
I just don't see it as this religious environment because I saw, I'm, as you know, Trina, I sent you pictures. I'm painting and, doing some drywall patching.
Mhm.
And so I'm talking out loud and I said, I just don't get this. Wait a minute. So the story is that there's this God who has this son, and they had this creature, which was their right-hand man, because we don't know anything about the woman, but it was the right-hand dude, and you said his name was Lucifer. So wait a minute. How does someone rebel against something that they have no comparison to?
Mhm.
I'm just asking for a friend.
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
No, so much of it doesn't.
Yeah.
So much of it
Ah,
doesn't. But I think,
all
like I
right.
said, we're putting it together, and I think
Slowly,
all of our
slowly.
consciousness
Yeah.
is looking into these different pieces and parts. Is
Yeah.
I think it's going to help us put together a more fuller uh, expression of our consciousness. And I
Yeah.
do think that that might be one of the ultimate goals, is to gather as much information, learn as much as you can, because
Yeah.
that information does appear to go with you. So that's
And
kind
the
of
thing
cool.
about it is remain agile in your mind. And that's the thing I
Yeah,
found. I see people
flexible.
who grow old, and they grow old because their minds become set into a pattern.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
their thinking never goes outside that self-imposed prison. And they
yeah.
get
And I
old.
think those are some of my most wonderful days, is when my consciousness gets expanded. It's like I said, it is a great day when that happens. But I will tell you, it does feel like the counter opposite effect comes at me real soon after that, too. I watch
Yeah.
that polarity going on in my world. I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
oh,
Oh,
mind expansion. And it's like, oh, crap, here they come. Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting. But so if y'all are experiencing that too, no, you're not alone, and no, it's all manageable, because it's just part of duality.
it
All
is.
right.
We
Yeah.
love y'all.
Yes, we do.
None of us have all the answers. None of us have,
No,
you know,
we couldn't
we're,
hold them in our brain. It would
I don't
fall
think
out
we
on the
could either.
table.
And
It
you
would
know what? If
explode,
we
Wayne.
did, then the journey would suck.
Yes, it'd be
It would.
game over.
It would be. It's like, you know, that's the great thing about it, regardless of whatever type of passion you have. If you knew you were always going to win,
Yeah,
that
we
gets
wouldn't want to
boring,
play
man.
anymore. Yes.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
and
I have
then
actually learned more in my failures than I have in my victories.
yes,
Then my failures have
yes.
hurt, but I got to
Yes.
tell you, I've learned more in those times. Yeah. We'll talk about
Because
that maybe next week.
yeah, it
Yeah.
pushes you to a new layer of consciousness, because you have to
Mhm.
get out where you're at. It forces you to expand your consciousness. That's
Woo,
yeah,
we'll talk about that.
I love it.
When you're standing with a rope around your neck and on the tipsy of, you realize right there into that balance, really. So
Yep.
what are you?
Yep.
That's the question I had to eventually face within myself. And I finally, that's when you just go, wow, I'm not this bad person that,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Absolutely. You broke your
There was a
program,
change. There was
Wayne.
something else in the room that day that I think was also part of that. But
Probably your Holy Spirit, your
yeah,
higher self,
I think it was
yourself.
true. Yeah.
Well, I don't think anyone really has the power to make those kind of changes other than part of you.
Oh yeah,
I
absolutely.
really do
Actually,
think
that's what I
that.
tell people. That was my
Yeah.
judgment day.
Yeah, and you passed
There is
the
no judgment day
test.
awaiting us because
Oh,
I've already faced it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
guess what? I
I'm
was
still
found not guilty.
standing. Yeah.
And I won't back down.
Nope. I love that Tom Petty song. One of my favorites.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right,
Yes.
everybody. Thank you for hanging on with us. We went over, but
Much
this was
love.
fun. And Miss
Yeah.
Trina, love you, darling.
I love you
And
too. I love all of you. Thank you for being part of my world.
yes. And Lady Elite, we are Ellie, excuse me, that we are worthy of love. Yeah, that's the great
Yeah.
thing. You have to love yourself.
Yeah.
You know, I think all of us, when we get another thing on the other side, what we'll have is this ability to be hugged in such a manner where you just let it all out.
It's gonna be the
Yeah,
most
you just
amazing thing
let it
ever.
out, you
Yep.
know.
We get to drop all the density, Wayne, and that is it. Let it all
Mm-mm-mm.
out right there. Just,
Mhm.
it's just, oh, wow, this feels great.
Ah,
Okay.
yes, yes, yes,
Shake it
yes.
off, shake it off, shake it off.
All right, everybody. We love you. See you next week. All right. Until then, be good to yourself. And as they say, where did I see that? It passed on.
You're a great
But be
quote.
good to yourself. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, folks.